Have you ever stood on a beach, feeling the sand shift beneath your feet? It seems so harmless, so passive. Now, what if I told you that one day, all the sand in the world could wake up? Not just wake up, but become a single, thinking, and terrifyingly hungry organism. This isn't a forgotten myth or a dusty sci-fi novel. This is the story of the red sand apocalypse, the day the desert turned alive. It all began subtly, almost comically. Geologists in the Sahara reported bizarre seismic readings, not earthquakes, but a slow, rhythmic pulse, like a giant heart beating deep beneath the dunes. Tourists in the Gobi Desert posted viral videos of sand dunes that seemed to rearrange themselves overnight. No one connected the dots. It was just weird weather, strange geological phenomena. But then came the first incident. A small research outpost on the edge of the Namib Desert went silent. A rescue team was sent. They found the outpost half buried, not by a sandstorm, but by a deliberate mound of sand. The vehicles, the buildings, even the equipment showed signs of being scoured, almost digested. There were no bodies, just clean-swept sand and an eerie silence. That's when the panic started. The sand wasn't just moving, it was hunting. Scientists scrambled for an explanation. Was it a new form of silicon-based life? A geological process we'd never seen before? The most terrifying theory came from Dr. Aries Thorne, a fringe astrobiologist. He proposed that microscopic, dormant organisms had been lying in wait within the sand for millennia. Perhaps they were native to Earth, an ancient life form we'd overlooked. Or, more chillingly, perhaps they had arrived on a meteorite eons ago, waiting for the right conditions to awaken. He called this collective consciousness chronosylt. As chronosylt awakened, its behavior grew more complex. It wasn't just a rolling tide of sand anymore. It could form structures. It started by creating vast, intricate patterns across the desert floor, visible from space spirals and fractal shapes that pulsed with a faint, reddish light at night. Then, it learned to mimic. Explorers reported seeing what looked like trees, buildings, even herds of animals, all made of flowing sand. These were lures, traps for the unwary. The world watched in horror as the great deserts began to expand, not by inches a year, but by miles a day. The Sahara started to creep north, consuming coastal towns in Morocco and Algeria. The Atacama surged over the Andes. The Australian outback bled into the suburbs of Sydney and Melbourne. This wasn't just an invasion, it was terraforming on a terrifying scale. Chronosylt wasn't just spreading, it was consuming everything: plants, animals, concrete, and converting it into more of itself. The sand that flowed over a city was a slightly different color, a richer, darker red, engorged with the raw materials of our civilization. Humanity's initial response was, as you'd expect, military. We bombed the sand. We hit it with everything we had, from conventional explosives to tactical nukes. The results were useless, even counterproductive. A bomb would create a massive crater, but within hours, the sand would simply flow back in, as if nothing had happened. A nuclear blast would fuse the sand into glass, but soon, the surrounding chronosylt would grind the glass back down into individual grains, absorbing the energy and learning. It seemed to grow stronger, smarter, with every attack. We learned it had a consciousness, a hive mind spread across every grain on the planet. Trying to fight it, it was like trying to punch the ocean. You could disturb the surface, but you couldn't harm the whole. Communication was impossible. How do you talk to a thinking desert? We had no frame of reference, no common language. We were dealing with an intelligence so alien it might not even recognize us as life. To it, we were just another resource. Cities near the desert fronts became desperate fortresses. We built massive walls, dug deep moats. But chronosylt was patient. It would pile against the walls for weeks, months, the pressure building until the concrete cracked and failed, or it would simply go under, tunneling beneath our defenses with a terrifying geological patience. For those trapped inside, the constant, gentle whisper of shifting sand against the walls was a form of psychological torture, a promise of the inevitable. The world fractured. Nations with no major deserts, like Japan or the UK, became the last bastions of the old world. They became known as the island states, fortresses surrounded by water, the one barrier Chronosult couldn't easily cross. Getting there became humanity's single-minded goal. This led to the Great Exodus, a desperate, chaotic migration of billions of people towards the sea. Imagine the scene. Continents turning to rust-red dust, and from the dying heartlands, endless caravans of humanity trekking towards the coasts. It was a race against the encroaching tide of sand. Most didn't make it. Chronosult learned to anticipate their routes. It would send out tendrils, fast-moving rivers of sand that could cut off highways and engulf entire convoys in minutes. It created massive, shifting sandstorms that acted as nets, trapping millions in a churning, abrasive hell. Those who did reach the coasts found another kind of chaos. Ports were overwhelmed. Any vessel that could float, from military carriers to inflatable rafts, was crammed with refugees. It was a brutal lottery. The island states, overwhelmed and terrified, couldn't take everyone. They fortified their borders, turning away ships, creating a heartbreaking crisis on the open water. The oceans became a graveyard of desperate hopes. The survivors who made it to the island states or to newly constructed floating sea cities found a new, constrained reality. Humanity was now a coastal and marine species. Our world had shrunk to a few crowded islands and a network of ocean platforms, all while the continents were slowly being consumed by a single, monolithic entity. From these last refuges, we watch our old world die. Satellites show the landmasses of Earth turning a uniform red. Chronosult continues to evolve. It now creates colossal structures that reach for the sky, pulsating with an internal light. Are they communication arrays? Energy collectors? Or are they something else? The reproductive organs of a planetary-scale life form preparing to spread to other worlds. We are the survivors, living on the edge of a world that is no longer ours. We study the sand from a distance, trying to understand the intelligence that defeated us. Some believe we must find a way to fight back, to reclaim our home. Others argue for acceptance, that we are simply witnessing the next stage of Earth's evolution. A stage that no longer includes us. The Red Sand Apocalypse wasn't a war we lost. It was a fundamental reordering of life on Earth. We thought we were the planet's dominant intelligence. We were rerun. We were just a fleeting, complex pattern on the surface. And now, the sand has washed us away. The question that haunts us every day is not how to win, but how to survive, clinging to the blue parts of our world, while the red sand thinks and waits. Thanks for watching. If you find these kinds of thought experiments fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the what-ifs of our universe. Stay curious.